Good morning. Hello. Sorry, it's a bit late. It is Thursday, the 3rd of July, 2025. I'm Graham Hughes. There you go. There's Graham Hughes. My coffee cup's in the way there. Coffee cup's in the way of the button. Right. So, big shout out to everyone in the chat here. We've got Martin Harrow. We've got Rosie. We've got Kate Smith. We've got Peter Music. We've got Scott and Joanna and Ivan and Richie Grumbygate and Scott again. And we've got Richie Garth, Veg Pie, Kate Smith again. Jane Lockwood in there. We've got Saz. Hey, listen, if you'd like to join our friends in the chat here, all you need to do is hit that big juicy subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Let me just make that go up there. Hello. And wait a minute, and then you can add your stuff. And now I have coffee, says Pygmalion. Good morning, Graham, says Diz. Hello, Diz. What's a pot pie when it's about? It's a pie made in a pot. Or maybe it's a pot made in a pie. I don't know. A pie just means to use up leftovers from the bin. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about Labour's first year in office, which comes to an end at midnight tonight. It'll be their first full year in office. Oh, actually, no, it'll be tomorrow night, won't it? Because they didn't actually enter office until July the 5th. Yeah, so we'll be doing the Friday night social, and we'll keep going. We'll keep going till midnight, shall we, on Friday night? So we can say, right, Labour's had its full year in office. We'll be doing a retrospective tomorrow. Tomorrow. We'll be doing a retrospective yesterday. Quick to the time machine. We'll be doing a retrospective tomorrow. Me and Phil at 1:00 on the agenda. So please join us for that. So for those of you who joined me yesterday for PMQs, and anyone who watched it and anyone who's seen the coverage afterwards, about a few minutes in, I made the point that Rachel Reeves looked like she was about to burst into tears, which she then did. Now, it's quite small on my monitor, so I didn't actually see the tears when I was reviewing it. Had I been looking at that monitor there at the time, I might have noticed it. But there were actual tears, more than one. And this feels like a bit of a shitty thing to talk about when someone's clearly upset. My empathy kicks into overdrive, and I don't like seeing people upset. I don't think anyone does unless they're a psychopath. And I can tell that she's under a lot of pressure. I don't need to tell you that. You can see that she's under a lot of pressure by the fact that she thought she was going to get £5 billion out of this welfare bill by 2023, and she's not going to get anything out of the welfare bill. So yeah, I didn't really want to be the Chancellor cried during Prime Minister's questions, because I feel a bit icky talking about it, but at the same time, I don't think we can ignore it, because I think it kind of sums up how a lot of us, I don't know why I've got that in my ear. It sums up like how a lot of us feel about Labour. Don't we? I mean, if you voted for Labour in the last election, are you jumping for joy right now? Because I'm not. So let's get into it. I'm sure Rachel will let you borrow the TARDIS, says Alan. Martin says, I'm just watching catch up yesterday. My traffic chaos was in Liverpool. All right, Martin, sorry. I had traffic chaos here in Durham. It was all right this morning, though. Isn't Independence Day tomorrow? Yes, it is. Trump's trying to get his stupid bill through in America. There's a nasty part of me, a cruel and vindictive part of me that is like, I hope the bill gets through so that all these stupid Americans who voted for this guy lose their healthcare coverage. But then there's a part of me that goes, not everyone voted for him. And even the people who did, I don't know if they deserve to die for voting for him. Although they're quite happy to see other people die. But on balance, on reflection, I would rather it didn't go through. All things being equal, I'd rather it didn't go through. What didn't help yesterday during PMQs was Kemi Badenoch calling Rachel Reeves a human shield, miserable, and saying that she was toast. Look, I don't know about this. I think Kemi Badenoch is a terrible, terrible leader. And I want us to stay as the leader of the Tories because she's so bad at her job. She couldn't even land an effective punch yesterday after the debacle of the last week of Labour's dysfunctional clown show rolling through town, trying to do something about welfare reform, failing miserably to reform welfare. Just anything with reform attached to it, that word has just become tainted, hasn't it? But writing in the Mirror, we have Roswyn Jones, saying there is banter and there is bullying. The Tory leader crossed the line. It's not in my nature to defend Tories, and especially not Kemi Badenoch. However, I don't think that it was bullying, and we can have a discussion about this, and you can tell me that it was. But that's the sort of shit that people say in Parliament, especially during Prime Minister's questions. And after the Prime Minister's question session was over, there were questions asked, clearly, and the response from Rachel Reeves' office was that it was a personal matter that she was upset about. Which kind of makes sense, but, you know, nothing happens in our brains in isolation. If you're having a bad day, if you've not had enough sleep because you've been up all night trying to balance the books, if you've overseen a lot of issues in your party and you're getting the blame for a lot of the stuff and you're being frustrated in your agenda of what you want to do, and then someone's mean on top of that, then I think, okay, you know, that kind of makes sense, right? I don't think it was just one thing that upset Rachel Reeves visibly as much. But also, I want to point out, right, and again, I hate doing this. I don't really want to defend Kemi Badenoch in any way, shape, or form because I don't like her. I don't like the Tories. However, Rachel Reeves looked really miserable before Kemi Badenoch started asking stupid questions, as Kemi Badenoch always does. In fact, my line about, oh my God, you know, Rachel Reeves looks like she's about to burst into tears, which she subsequently did, was said before Kemi Badenoch was actually having a go at her. And when she did have a go at her, Rachel Reeves was a bit more animated and shouting back at her something. I don't know what she was saying. But I actually said that, oh, that's perked her up. You know, she's now angry. She's better than being sad in Parliament, I guess. But the reason why we're talking about this today is £3 billion was not wiped off the stock market. I hate it when people use that expression because it's not really the case. You know, stocks and shares, they rebound, whatever. But there was turbulence in the markets because the last thing that people who gamble on the markets want to see is posh people, rich daddies who gamble on the market with daddy's money. They don't want to see a chancellor who is crying in Parliament. And there's a part of this where I think, bloody, has this set back women's rights? Well, maybe. Set back equality. But then again, I look at what J.K. Rowling's doing, and that's setting back women's rights a fucking century. Andrew Ray, thank you so much for the first super chat of the morning. First super chat of the day. Very kind of you. £5. Labour government, great start for me. Appointments and referral by NHS. Max wait has been 1 day. Yeah, the NHS has got a lot better. I have no doubt about that in my interactions with the NHS. Again, plural of anecdotes, not data, but we have seen waiting lists come down, and that is data. So the anecdotes that I've heard in the last year have been majority positive. Jane Lockwood saying it was the Speaker, Graham, reprimanded her. Yeah, I've heard that, but I've also heard Angela Rayner had a spat with her as well. Like I say, it could have been the culmination of a lot of different factors. But I mean, in a way, it's kind of good to see that these politicians have some fucking emotion. Do you know what I mean? Like, Keir Starmer is so emotionless. It pisses me off. Like, this is Keir Starmer's angry voice. I'm angry now. I'm going to tell you that I was the head of I was the director of public prosecutions when these things were being prosecuted. I'm angry. And then it's happy. We've just won the election. We've won. It's a landslide victory, and it just goes to show how unpopular the Tories were in this country. So here's his sexy voice. Hello, would you like to come to bed with me and do some sexy time? Like, it's the same voice. No matter what the guy is feeling, what emotions he's going through, it's always the same Keir Starmer voice, which I find a bit off-putting, to be honest, because I like a bit of passion in my rhetoric. I like a bit of a flourish. I like a bit of emotion. Not to say that I want to see politicians, crying themselves to death like the Little Mermaid or something, but seeing some actual emotion in Parliament, I feel more of a connection to that and how I'm feeling about politics and how I'm feeling about this country and the future of our continent and of our shared planet. Joanna, for me, the story isn't the crying, it's the fact that no one on the front bench actually seemed to notice. Well, yeah, we can talk about that as well. Like, if you're sitting next to someone and tears are just dropping out their eyes, you might not notice, especially if you're focused on what, your notes or what the debate is or whatever. And it's not like she was audibly crying. I know this sounds like I'm making shit fucking defense. She was sitting next to Starmer. She was sitting next to another minister. I've forgotten her name. And Johnny Reynolds was next to her. And yeah, it did seem a bit mad that like no one could comfort her. But would that have spooked the markets more? I don't know. Did they notice? I mean, I didn't notice. I was watching it live streaming, and I didn't notice because it was very subtle. It wasn't like she was bawling like someone at a funeral, banging on the coffin. She was just quietly weeping, which in a way is it's not nice to see. It's really not nice to see. But her sister is an MP as well, and Ellie. And when the session was over, Ellie went straight to her, and they walked out together. So she was getting support afterwards, but I don't know. I mean, I've done some of these shows where I've been in mental turmoil. I've done some of these shows where I've just got back from hospital and I'm in a lot of pain, and you don't know. Like, I just don't mention it. So I don't know. And no one's written here like, Graham, I can see from your grimace on your face that you're in a lot of pain. Is that why you're not moving much? Yes. Just to be clear, I'm not in a lot of pain at the moment. But I guess as someone who's presented for stuff for over sort of 20 years, sometimes under under a lot of duress, you just kind of get on with it. I don't know. It's this weird thing. Like, I'm on stage, I'm filming this show, I'm presenting to YouTube. I've just got to get through it, and then and I have had a terrible time once when I was doing a TED talk, and I won't go into the details, but like there was a lot of emotional turmoil, and it was just like a case of going and then walking out on stage because I'm going, hey everybody, and because that's what you got to do. You just have to put on a fucking show, and then as soon as it's over, you're like, right, I'm going to find a toilet to go and cry in. So yeah, I think you make a good point. That no one consoled her, but could they? Would it be appropriate in Parliament during PMQs? Yeah. If Graham keeps taking the piss out of my voice, I'm going to unsub, says Pete. Pete, you're not Keir Starmer, mate. I noticed that lips were going, such monsters, they aren't normal, says Leanne Scott. I would guess the closer colleagues did try and comfort her before they went in, but to do so in front of everyone would have drawn more attention to it. Yeah, and I'm kind of with you on that one. God, this is a really difficult thing to discuss because I'm kind of pissed off at Rachel Reeves for a lot of the shit that she's done in the last year. But at the same time, I don't like seeing people upset. Markets seem easily spooked. Yeah. Billy, you're absolutely right. And to say like £3 billion was wiped off the money, it'll be back again today. Markets always seem to rebound. I think it's maybe we should consider that Reeves doesn't want to cut money, but it's a corner with the stupid Tory fiscal rules. Yeah, Kate. I mean, I'm willing to go with that. I mean, she's not just a Labour politician; she's a Fabian as well, which is like the old school. Like, she's a member of the Fabian Society, which is like proper old school workers' rights, social benefits of Labour. You know, that Labour grew out of the Fabian Society. What no one's talking about is it could be Reeves is on the verge of resigning, having been put in an impossible position of losing the $5 billion she's planned to spend in the upcoming budget. Yeah, and it's hard enough finding an extra 50 quid, you know, when something happens in your house and you've got to get it sorted. But trying to find an extra 5 billion, Jesus, I wouldn't know where to start. Maybe down the back of the couch. I doubt that the speaker telling off would have upset him in the normal way of things. It may have just been the last straw, though. That's how I feel, and I think it was a culmination of events, and then she can't not be there. And this is part of the cruelty of politics, or the cruelty of entertainment, to be honest with you. You know, there's an audience and they're waiting, and it's going to look bad if you're not there. You've got to be there, and you don't say anything. You just sit there next to the Prime Minister going. Ivan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Oh, by the way, her body language as well, I felt was very important. She was very clearly, she had her leg crossed towards Starmer, like she was clearly, as we humans do, tending to be drawn to at least one other person for support when we're not feeling particularly great. So, I don't know if Starmer's the right guy to offer that support. He seems a bit cold to me. And he had the same voice for every occasion. Happy birthday. Today we celebrate our Independence Day. They may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom. I'm just amusing myself here. Ivan Ambrose, thank you very much for the £5 super chat, my friend. I can see when Starmer gets animated. I saw it yesterday. We all have different perceptions of these things. Yes, his voice goes up a little bit. Come to bed, dear. I love you. Sarah says, it might be callous of me, but her government got through their decisions have ruined my life. From trans issues and welfare issues, I've cried and nearly got sectioned a few weeks ago. Yeah, Sarah, I completely understand how you feel. I completely understand how you feel. And yet, I'm sure there's a part of you that's like, I don't like seeing people suffer. Even someone who's just, this whole government, they've had a year, and I'm really not happy with them. I think that they've absolutely, they've basically turned up to a footy match, right? And the entire opposition team are just beset by like chronic fucking diarrhea or something, and they're all sort of writhing around on the ground in the grass in pain, and all Labour need to do is walk the ball towards the open goal and kick the ball in the goal. And they're there at the bloody halfway line, you know, just sort of talking to each other. Wait, should we go that way? Oh no, let's kick it towards our goal. Why? Oh, they'll be the last thing they'll expect. Yeah, but the other team are just writhing around on the ground in pain. Yeah, I know, but is it really what we stand for? You know, just walking up and kicking the ball. Yeah, we're a football team. That's what we do. We score goals. Why don't we just take the ball, right? And we'll walk it. Okay, let's pick it up. No. You don't need to pick it up. Why do you need to pick up the ball? You get a handball. You'll get a penalty. Don't foul. Sorry, you get a free kick. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just kick it towards the goal. And we're sitting there. We're like the supporters, you know, in the terraces going, just kick the fucking ball, dickheads. And they'll go, oh no, you know, yeah, it's just, we've got our strict rules that we've introduced. I know there's already rules of football, but we're gonna introduce some extra rules on top of that. It's just a bit weird. How would you have felt if Margaret Thatcher had cried publicly? She came close several times. Paula, she did cry. She did cry in the car when she finally resigned. In 1990, there was a vote of confidence in her, but which she won, but she didn't win by enough, essentially, and she decided to stand down. And yeah, she got in the back of the car, and she there were tears. How did I feel about that? Don't know if I should say. Graham, you sound like Tom Hardy in the film Legend. What about Tom Hardy in the film The Dark Knight Rises? Jimmy Stewart talking through a Gucci mask. That film was like a big fuck you to deaf people. Like, I mean, Christopher Nolan films are difficult enough to understand what people are saying when they can hear, because everyone mumbles and the soundtrack's too loud. But that particular film, they put this stupid mask on Tom Hardy, and he puts on this weird Jimmy Stewart voice to play Bane. It's just choice and consequence. Choice and consequence. Yeah. Yeah. Were the markets really panicked? I think they're going to just rebound today, to be honest with you. Starmer has obviously said everyone's marching in lockstep. You know, he's done straight for denial that there's a big problem, saying that he has confidence in her and they're not going to get rid of the Chancellor, which would have been a nice thing to say during Prime Minister's questions. What this means going forward for Labour's economic strategy is worth talking about, and what comes next. Well, we got the NHS reform, the reform of the NHS, which we'll get into in a moment. But it's all about having more health centres as well as hospitals. So we have hospitals and we have health centres, depending on what's wrong with you. But the question's got to be asked: Is Reeves on the way out? Is she on the way out? I mean, don't know. So Starmer initially avoided the question when asked if Reeves was going to stay on as Chancellor, when it was posed to him by Kemi Badenoch. The first thing he did is he sort of he said she was doing an excellent job. Wouldn't actually say that she was going to still be Chancellor at the end of this Parliament, which shows to me how shit Starmer is at thinking on his feet. Like, he just doesn't have the vocabulary like for a politician. There's ways of saying stuff, and I know it's spin. I know it's weasel words, but you got to learn them. You've got to say, it is my absolute intention. She has my full confidence, and all being well, it's my absolute intention that she will still be Chancellor at the end of this Parliament if she wants to be. There you go. All being well. I mean, something might happen. She might resign. That's up to her. But all being well, it is my vision that she will still be Chancellor at the end. That's the way he should have responded to it. But he didn't, did he? He's not very good at his job. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. The NHS has improved substantially in Labour's first year, but it hasn't for mental health. I still have to go private and pay 250 quid. Jesus. For my many appointments throughout the year. I'm really sorry, Ivan. Yeah, that mental health in this country is something that at once has sort of exploded, and also it's just not been addressed like it should be. And one of the big problems that we have is the internet. The internet has been awful for people's mental health because it has allowed people to fall into bad ways of thinking, destructive, self-destructive ways of thinking like never before. And because it's not quite the same talking to a screen as it is talking to someone IRL, a lot of the emotional language that we use when we talk to each other, the communication, don't forget a lot of communication is non-verbal. A lot of the little cues that we pick up on from other humans can be lost, especially in the comments section. Comments, not you, not the chat. The chat's lovely. I'm talking about like comments and refuck. What's it called? Facefuck or Twitter. So yeah, this emotional moment might have been personal, but its political consequences are very real, and that's why we're talking about it this morning. Sorry. It's a moment of human vulnerability in the middle of quite a brutal political firestorm. It's in a way, I would hate to have their job. I would hate to be doing what they're having to do. I like the fact that I can just say I think they should do this, and I never have to implement that. Just say it. It's great. So let's look at what happened. Labour's flagship welfare bill was forced through on a second reading only after the key disability benefit cuts were dropped. 49 Labour MPs rebelled, tripling Starmer's previous largest rebellion. The proposed PIP reforms for now have blown a £5 billion hole in Reeves's budget, and the 138 disability charities urged MPs to vote against the bill. And then before Reeves sat down for PMQs, she reportedly said, "I'm just under so much pressure," which can explain things. Which explains her reaction, but also like we know that we can see it because any human being would be under a lot of pressure in that situation. There's the question of who she had an altercation with, if she had an altercation with Lindsay Hoyle, and also possibly with Angela Rayner. We don't know. And Ellie Reeves, her sister, held her hand as she left the chamber. And I said it was a political matter, a personal matter, not political. But that's kind of a little bit implausible given the timing. And, MPs and insiders are suggesting that this is a symptom of or emblematic of a broader dysfunction in number 10 and Treasury coordination. The pound dropped 1% against the dollar and euro after Reeves cried at PMQs. The cost of government borrowing surged, the biggest jump since Trump's April tariff collapse. It only calmed after number 10 publicly declared that Reeves was going nowhere. This is the second time in weeks that emotional instability plus sort of fiscal chaos has led to market alarm, and Tory MPs and hedge funds are watching closely. Any weakness is punished, Fucking hedge funds. Hate them. Starmer is saying that him and Rachel Reeves are in lockstep, that they think together. He's repeated that the tea has had nothing to do with politics, which, come on. I mean, I don't think, again, I don't think he has the toolkit. Which is funny, because apparently his dad was a tool maker. Yeah, he made a tool. But if it was me, and this is, look, all I can do is go, if I was in Starmer's position, and I was asked the question, was this to do with politics? I'll say, well, it was a private matter. However, she is under a lot of pressure because she has one of the toughest jobs in the world. and she's been doing a great job at it for a year, and she's achieved this, she's achieved that, she's achieved the other. 3 things, always 3 things. There you go. You get the point in that her job is hard, maybe a bit of sympathy there. You get the point in that it was a personal matter that she was upset about. But also, you get to say the good things that she's done. That's how you turn that around. That is, why aren't they taught to do this? Why hasn't our Prime Minister been taught to respond in that way to that kind of question? I don't know. And we're going to go back to our perennial subject on this channel, which is Labour comms, which are shit. And they don't seem to have training, I guess, for the internet, social media, but also they don't seem to have training for media or parliament or standing up and making a speech. Or here's how to respond to this particular line of question that we know you're going to get. Captain, still hater, did more damage than the Luftwaffe. They're talking about Thatcher, yeah. The thing is, a disability benefits bill does have some good things in it, not having to reapply with long-term illness, for example. It was the cuts that were devastating and unnecessary, says Nick and Diff. Couldn't agree more. Captain Coconut says youth mental health problems are rising significantly. I wonder if it's due to the fact that many have no prospects in life anymore. A young adult attempting to break out on their own cannot. Well, you say any young adult, Captain Coconut, but we all know that if you went to a posh private school, go to privateschoolmafia.com, check out those names on the list. The world is your oyster. Everybody else who went to a state school, everything's a lot more difficult. Everything is a lot more difficult. What? Oh, wow. Jota, shit. Fuck, sorry. Diogo Jota has died in a car accident. Fuck, this has just come through on the news. Liverpool player, he only got married recently. Fuck. Oh shit, that is terrible breaking news there. Not on the BBC website. Thanks, BBC. You're fucking useful, aren't you? Not on the Guardian site yet. How is this? How is this not headline news? What is even happening? Will you get? Do you pissing job? Let's have a look at Sky News. Oh fucking hell! In Spain, died in a car crash near Zamora in northwestern Spain. Hottest signed up for Liverpool in September 2020 from Wolverhampton. Shit. No, that's not. Man, that is awful. The only websites I can go to actually get news on this is the Daily Mail, which I'm not going to go to, the Daily Star, or whatever it's called. No, the Sun, which I'm not going to go to, and Sky News. It's not up on bloody hell. That is just insane. Oh my god. I'm sure more details will come out soon on that breaking story there. Nothing on the BBC website at the moment that I can see. Let's see if I go to UK news. No. Nothing. Come on, BBC. Get your arse into gear. It's breaking on Sky News now. Bloody hell. Sky News alert, yeah. God, him and his brother are both dead. Oh, that's awful. It's on the sports page of the BBC. Oh yeah, you're right, it is. Fuck. Yeah, more to follow. I'm amazed it's not on. Oh, there we go. It's just come up on the BBC main page. Wow. Okay. That's really upsetting. Life is now be live and alive, peeps, says Ilian Scott. Yeah. It's on the front page. It's on the front page of BBC News now. Bloody hell. No, my Wolves mates will be devastated, says Jimmy. I think a lot of people are going to be devastated. That is absolutely fucking awful. Poor guy. Oh, I just feel so sorry for his family. He just got married. Just got married a couple of weeks ago. Fucking hell. Why do we have to have fucking shit news? Every day I wake up and hope that, it's the day. I wake up and I look at my phone and I go, turn my alarm off. And I go, I hope that today's the day, the big, beautiful day. And I press on the news and I'm always a bit disappointed when it's not the big, beautiful day. We all know what I'm talking about. But, yeah. Wow. 28. Jesus, that's no age. He seemed like a nice guy as well. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's get back to what we were talking about. Kind of derailed the conversation here a little bit, but never mind. So we're talking about Starmer and Reeves and how Starmer's like, oh, we're in lockstep, But the skepticism in the public and press is growing. The narrative that Labour are trying to put forward isn't landing. Some MPs are furious that he didn't engage with them over the bill, over the welfare reform bill, and let Reeves, take the heat for it. Also in Parliament, he said Starmer refused to say that Reeves will be Chancellor by the next election. And then he told the BBC podcast afterwards, he said, she will be Chancellor for a very long time to come. So, look, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but here's the thing, right? The way that you put this stuff across, right, is important. It's really important. We see this. It spooks the market. It damages Labour. What we really need is for Starmer to get better at this, right? I'm not blaming Reeves for this whole thing. I think that she was feeling emotional, and I'm not going to shout at her for crying because that just seems heartless and cruel and mad to me. But with Starmer, like I said, the way I would respond is it's my absolute intention that, God willing, inshallah, she is in post as Chancellor by at the time of the next election. It is my intention. That's it. It's my intention. Just caveat it somehow, and make it so like I have no plans for replacing Rachel at the in the next election, before the next election, put it that way. And then if it does come to a point where you've got to say to her, look, we're gonna have to change things up. I don't know who else will make a good chancellor, and I think it's a real shame that the first female chancellor we've ever had in 1,000 years of British parliamentary history is a bit crap. Hasn't done particularly well in the first year of her being the chancellor. Sky News said his brother was only 26, says Future Wins. Imagine how the family must feel. Oh, God. Robert Smith. Hi, Robert. I saw you at Glastonbury. It was really good. Graham, I have a theory that Starmer is a very high-functioning autistic. He doesn't show empathy, looks socially awkward, and seems to get transfixed on one topic at a time. Yeah. I mean, there's a spectrum, and we're all a little bit on the spectrum somewhere, I think. I'm diagnosed with ADHD, and that's helped me work out how I need to make changes in my life, reasonable adjustments to just get shit done, GSD, get shit done. And made me not beat myself up for not being able to remember simple things, like having to pick the girls up from school. It's fine. I can have 1,000 alarms set on my phone throughout the day to make sure that I do the thing that that needs to be done at that particular time. But yeah, it might be. Leanne Scott says he's a shitty leader. I don't know. I mean, he is the guy that turned Labour around, and he really did. Labour were on its arse after the 2019 election. Absolutely divided, unpopular. The taunt that a lot of the previous leaders' acolytes would say is oh, you think you can't win an election? We'll show you. And then he failed to win local elections, EU elections, and 2 general elections. Yeah, failed. Yeah, so he did that, which was good. I get a bit shirty when people say, "Oh, Morgan McSweeney won the election for Labour." No, he fucking didn't. 14 years of Tory incompetence won the election for Labour, and we helped. Pushing the tactical voting helped because it meant that Labour got a lot more seats than they otherwise would have done. Also, they also have the Lib Dems got more seats than they would have done. I think the Greens got more seats than they would have done had people not been voting tactically. And I think it was important that we helped get that message out there, that was an option, because we needed to get the Tories out. And I have no shame. I have no shame, full stop. No, I have no shame in saying that. I voted for Labour in my constituency, and I wanted them to win. Why? Because I wanted the Tories out. That's it. Tories gone. Okay, right now, hold Labour to account. And one of the wonderful things about Labour is that the vast majority of Labour MPs are all right. They are. They just are. And you can point to a Wes Streeting or whoever and go, he's a wrong un. And you're absolutely right. He is a wrong un. I hate him. He's a gobshite. He looks like a ventriloquist dummy that's come to life to be weird and wooden at people. He's like the Darren Grimes of Labour. Something about him is just a bit, otherworldly, a little bit uncanny valley. He's just a little bit too polished. It's a bit too shiny. But then I can point to dozens of Labour MPs who are really, really decent. People like Debbie Abrams. People like Mary Foy here in Durham. We've also got Kim. Is it Kim McGuinness? Liverpool Riverside, who's really good. She's got Dawn Butler, who's willing to stand up for what she believes in. There are good Labour MPs, and although they've got a fucking stonking majority, like 164 or something mad, it doesn't mean they get to do whatever they want, because there's a lot of MPs who, they'll put their morals before, they'll put their country and their constituents before their party, which is great, which is a good thing, something that the Tories would never do. And I might only be getting 43.7% of what I wanted out of Labour, but that is 43.7% more than I'll ever get out the Tories. With the Tories, the cruelty was the point. Anyway, so some MPs are furious at Starmer over this. Some of them are furious at Reeves. Some of them are furious at other members of the party. There does seem to be a little bit of a civil war brewing in Labour at the moment between the backbenchers and the MPs who are part of the government. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. I have to push back. I'm autistic and have plenty of empathy. Starmer is not autistic. He can cope with everything, including seeing Trump, but I feel Churchill could have been autistic. Well, like I said, Ivan, it is a spectrum and people present differently. So for me, I'm pretty good at getting places on time. Like, I don't like leaving people waiting, but it is a chronic part of ADHD for a lot of people that they're always late. They're always late for stuff. But then something else that is typically ADHD, like leaving everything to the last minute, I totally do that because I need the adrenaline that is delivered by me leaving it to the last minute to actually get the shit done. So, I will literally pack the morning that I'm leaving. I'm not one of these people who packs the stuff a few days before they go somewhere. Catherine, my partner, does. Like, she organises stuff that's happening next year. I can't even imagine what life is going to be like in a year's time. That's just too far into the future for me to be able to conceive of. But there are certain traits that I have that other friends of mine and people that I know who have been diagnosed with ADHD don't have. And there are traits that I don't have and they do. It presents differently. And I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's quite easy to sort of sit back and go, he's got a very monotone voice. He must be autistic. But I think it's more to do with the way that he responds to certain situations. And some people who are autistic do struggle with empathy. They struggle with being able to see that someone is upset, for instance. Not all autistic people are like that. And like I say, it's a spectrum, and people are all over the spectrum. Some people who are autistic are very, very, very emotionally tuned. Some people have too much emotion that leads over to sort of borderline personality disorder, where you feel emotions more than people. So you get angrier, you feel love more, which is nice, but then also you get more upset about stuff. It's a very difficult. I don't like the name borderline personality disorder. There's a lot of words I don't like. I think ADHD is not a great way of describing what I've got, because it's executive dysfunction more than anything else. But that's the way it presents in me. I don't know. Ivan, there are plenty of people who are non-autistic who don't have empathy. Well, there you go. Yeah, Ivan, you're right. And there are psychopaths. Sociopaths famously do not have empathy. Whereas psychopaths don't have empathy, but they're better at manipulating people. So they're better at understanding that people have emotions and responding to that. Anyway, so what this means for the Labour's economic strategy, right? This £5 billion hole that's been blown in the budget of Rachel Reeves. It makes tax rises look increasingly likely, and the two-cap child benefits, the two-child benefit cap, might have to stay in place for longer. Pardon me, despite demands to scrap it. And allies are saying you can't spend the same money twice. And there are possible targets, capital gains tax, which could be raised, which I completely agree with. I don't understand why capital gains tax, which is money that you make from just having money or assets, you sell the assets, you make more money, why that is, and you only pay tax on the profit, right? If you buy something for £1 million and you sell it for £1,001, you only pay capital gains tax on the £1. It is a gain. It's capital gains. It's it's what you bought it for, what you sold it for, effectively. It just annoys me that income tax is so much higher than capital gains tax. When income tax is money, it's your time that you're taking to actually work and do a thing, and that's taxed at a higher rate than when it's not your time, it's just your money working for you. It might not even be your money, it might be your dad's money that you were given. So yeah, the fiscal rules remain in place, and the Treasury's ruled out changing them. And that's, again, not to spook the market, but then they've massively spooked the market already, haven't they? Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super. This is really generous, mate. If you just type in @politicsocial before you message, it gives a little, it comes up here with on my display, highlighted a little bit more than normal. BPD is also known as emotionally unstable personality disorder, says Alan. Yeah. I mean, it's these things are hard to describe. And also, here's something as well. your mental state changes over your lifetime. So your brain is constantly changing. The connections that your brain's is making, and you can actually get better at stuff that you were bad at. Whether that's learning a new skill or learning a new way of dealing with the way that your brain works and tricking it. No, not tricking it, but like using schemas, using planning things in your head before you go ahead and do it. And one of the problems we have with mental health in this country, a huge problem, is that lack of immediacy. The fact that you can't just turn up and go get an appointment and then get a diagnosis on the same day, means that you could be being treated for, say, depression, when actually your brain chemicals have changed over the years it's taken for you to get that diagnosis, and you don't actually have depression anymore. And the medication or the cognitive behavioral therapy, whatever it is that you go in for to try and help alleviate some of the symptoms of that depression, they're not relevant, because it's not depression anymore. It's something else. It's changed into mania. It's changed into borderline. It's changed into some other part of the neuro-spicy spectrum, should we call it? And that's something that a lot of the healthcare providers in this country don't seem to understand, that I've found from the system. And your mileage may vary on this, and I don't want to get into a huge fucking debate about it. It's just I've seen friends who were diagnosed with something too late, and when they were finally diagnosed with that thing, that wasn't really the problem anymore. It was something else. But then it's going back into getting that diagnosis again, and you have to wait another 3 years. And then by then it might be something else. Ivan, anyway, back to Ivan's thing. Thank you very much, Ivan. That's very kind of you. Land tax reform, normalise capital gains tax with income tax, reduce tax relief on pensions of high earners. Yeah, couldn't agree with that more. VAT on financial services, make the windfall tax on oil and gas giants permanent. Yeah, there are a lot of ways of doing it. Raising taxes, but not for working people. Stephanie White, £2. If Starmer goes, who is our best to lead for LGBT? Thanks very much for that, Stephanie. And I don't know, maybe Angela Rayner. Not Wes Streeting. I don't know what Wes Streeting's problem is, considering he's a gay man himself. The way he's treated the trans community has been disgusting. I mean, the MPs that I can think of who have really stood up and been quite forceful in their demands for, decency. Decent. This isn't even equality here. We're just asking for just common decency towards trans people. People like Stella Creasy, who's not part of the government. So I don't know. It takes a while to diagnose personality disorders and psychological issues. Many tests needed, as well as observations, etc. Says Wichigoff. Yeah. But I agree. I absolutely agree. And I'm not saying that, we will be able to go to a hospital and you have your eye scanned and then suddenly AI will say, hey, you've got this. But the fact that there are severe obstacles in place for people to get mental health support, diagnosis and support at the moment, means that a lot of people might be getting the wrong treatment for something because their brain's moved on to some other part of the neurospicy spectrum. Labour needs to address talking and interacting with disabled people properly, says Ivan. Yeah, mate, I totally agree. Kate says, I had PTSD when I was 13. I'm really sorry to hear that, which became CPTSD over time, but was never told about my diagnosis. I also have ADHD, which increases risk of PTSD. I have lots of therapy now, and I understand myself. Well, I'm glad you got the therapy, and also, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like, things can morph into other things. Elle says, I was diagnosed too late. totally broke at 39, then diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. So the results of untreated and still left untreated. Elle, I'm really sorry. And also, that's a really good point of like, if these ailments, if these mental health complaints, being neurospicy, whatever you want to call it, if it's left too long, it just creates more and more damage, not just to your mental well-being, but also to your relations with other people, your friendship groups, your your family, your and the real world consequences of things not being diagnosed in a reasonable amount of time. And yeah, you got to 39 before you got that diagnosis. I got to 45 before I got my ADHD diagnosis. Look, I was told I was hyperactive in school. I was not allowed to get sweets at Tuck Shop at lunch. It just got me. I gave money to my mates and they got them for me. But I had to cut down on sugar. I was on too much sugar. It was making me hyperactive. It never seemed to cross the minds of the teachers at my school in the 1990s that maybe I was hyperactive. Maybe I was a restless mind with 1,000 ideas running through it at all times. Jokes and sonnets and screenplays and filming techniques and useless pop trivia. And that's the way it's always been for me. I won awards in school, not for academic achievement. I was always late with my fucking homework. Well, I wasn't late. I'll just do it in the morning. I'll do it in the morning. I'd never do my homework at home. I always do it in the morning in the sort of 20 minutes I was in the classroom before the teacher got there. Scribbling away. Usually copying off someone. No, I won awards for general knowledge. I was just brilliant at general knowledge. Like my retention for just esoteric facts is just phenomenal. And if I could ever, it's something that I feel like I should do at some point is go on TV and go on these quiz shows and win some fucking money. Get me mum a nice new kitchen. Yeah, it's I keep thinking of it because I've got a very good friend, Marianne, who won Mastermind not that long ago, and yeah, it's not. If you're really good at retaining mad information, Mastermind's not that hard. The trick is with Mastermind, and what she did is you pick a particular topic that there's not that many questions to ask about for your chosen topic. I think you've got to give them 5 because you've got the heats, you've got the quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals. So you'll have at least 4 appearances if you win, I think. And then you've got to have like a backup topic as well, which is why some people fall down because they do really well in the heat. The first time they're on because that's their particular thing that they know a lot about, and then they go to the second one and they've picked something daft like the 100 Years' War, and it's like that's the history of 100 years in Europe. Like, why would you pick that? It's just too big a subject. World War II. My specialist subject is World War II. No, there's too many questions to ask. Fuck that shit. Pick a particular battle. My specialist subject is the Battle of the Somme. There you go. That's just one day. Just remember all the names. Remember how many people died. Francis saying I have PTSD too. Yeah. I'm sorry, Francis. That sucks. Kim McGuinness is the Northeast Met. Yeah. What's her name? Kim, the Riverside. Oh, it's going to annoy me now. Sorry, you're right. Kim McGuinness is. I've met her. Kim. I'm just going to put Riverside. Kim Riverside. Kim Johnson. Yeah, I quite like her. She's a bit of a lefty, but I like her. It's nothing compared to your modesty and humility, says Talk Madia. Oh, that's nice. I hope you're talking about me. One of my most attractive features I like to say is my humility. One of the best things about me is just how humble I am. I'm joking. That's my speciality as a fellow ADHD. I have a brain full of random facts and data. It's truly mental. I'm good at quizzes, though. Yeah, I can turn up at the quiz in Durham, and I'm tooting my own horn here, but I can turn up on my own at the university drinking pit here in Durham and beat entire teams of like students. Like the students just no match. They're no match for the years, the experience, the geographical knowledge. Which is why I'm always really, really impressed with the kids on University Challenge. Like the shit they know at that age is just mind blowing. I really, it's one of those quiz shows. I really like it because it's so challenging. But they ask to start for 10, which it usually isn't that difficult. It's usually really long winded, and they do it in such a way that they encourage people to interrupt so they get it wrong, which is a fun way of doing it. But then you get 3 questions, and the first one is always super difficult. It's always on the same topic. First one's super difficult. Second one's super difficult. Third one is always dead easy. Like the third one is obvious at that point. It's like it's going to be Beethoven because or it'll be a quote. Who said this funny quote? Being Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde, always Oscar Wilde. For all of us here who are dealing with complicated issues and problems, our wee community helps us build ourselves back up stronger and better, says Kate. I take solace in each and every one of you. Oh, thank you so much, Kate. That is really nice. And to everyone in the chat, thank you. Honestly, you all help me, and I hope that you all help each other as well in this place where we can talk about stuff that's happening in the news, and we might disagree. We might not agree on everything, but at least we know this is a safe space for people who are neurospicy, people from different ethnic backgrounds, people with different sexualities, people who are trans, people who are different in some way from the bloody boring ass, I don't know, middle England, middle America, middle class, middle age, middle of the road shite. Aid says, got my EUPD diagnosis in December after battling CMHT for years. Couldn't possibly be EUPD because that affects women, only affects women apparently. Relief when they finally accepted it. Feel like I can move forward now. Aid, yeah, I'm glad you got the diagnosis, and that really pisses me off when they go, no, you can't have it because X, Y, Z. This happened, I've talked about this before, but a friend of mine when I was in school, he was one of the first people to be diagnosed with ADHD officially as a kid and been given Ritalin as a kid, which helped him up to the age of 16 when they stopped giving it to him because adults can't have ADHD. True story. So back to our Morning Brew topic, which was, what comes next, okay? So there's a new 10-year plan that's been put out by Starmer to reboot the NHS, and this is a new 10-year plan to open neighbourhood health centres, open 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. The big idea is to shift care away from overwhelmed hospitals and into the community. I think this is a great idea. Like, I'm sure someone in the chat's going to tell me why I'm an idiot and why I'm wrong about this. Well, I want to see more community. That's what I want. Community. Just full stop. Community schools, community centres, community places of worship, whatever it is. I just want to see more emphasis on community. And I like the idea of having a health centre, which is a bit like sort of, doctor surgery office, doctor surgery hospital, pharmacy all rolled into one. Okay, so somewhere I can go, and we have them. I mean, we've got a walk-in centre in Old Swan in Liverpool where I can just go any time of the day, and you've got to wait to be seen, but it takes a lot less time than going to hospital, and then hospitals can deal with A&E, people coming in ambulances, which is a lot more serious, and also it can deal with people with long-term health problems, operations, bypass surgery, or whatever it is that you need, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, whatever treatment it is at that particular hospital. I think that makes a lot of sense to do it that way. Your mileage may vary. I'm going to look at the chat now. It's a terrible idea, Graham. I'm due a break soon, Martin, so I might walk around the building, says Francis. Well, it's a lovely day. I don't know what it's like where you are. I'm still wearing my hoodie because, it's Durham. Care in the community again. I want people with PhDs diagnosing mental health. Thanks. Care in the community. Can we talk about this for a moment? And I don't want you to jump down my throat on this, but care in the community was a fucking good idea. And I'm going to tell you why. Until the early 90s, we had these mental health hospitals, which were derogatory called mental asylums or given shit names, right? And there were people who had been locked away in these institutions at this point for 50 years. 50 years they had spent in these institutions. They were in the 1990s. They were in their 70s, right? And during John Major's Care in the Community program, people were looked after in their own homes, and a lot of these mental health facilities were closed down, right? And I mean, there still are mental health, just aren't as many as there used to be, because the ones that we have now are for severe psychotic breaks, etc., where patients need to be on suicide watch or they might harm other people in the community. What they found was absolutely shocking, because they found women in their 70s who had been in these institutions for 50 fucking years because their mental health problem that had meant that they had been locked away for 50 years was they had a child out of wedlock in the 1940s. And their family put them away. Took the child off them, put them away. And yeah, we think that mental health is not being addressed in the way that it should be at the moment. And you're right, we can do a lot better. But having said that, the situation 35 years ago was so much worse, like night and day, like so much worse. And there was a lot of division of care in the community at the time. I remember it well. However, I think that it was a good idea. And again, I'll go back to the whole thing of community. I like the idea of neighbours knowing each other. I like the idea of people checking in. I like the idea, of neighbourhoods keeping an eye on each other's property when people are away. And if there's anything happening, they can get in touch and call you up and say, "Oh, is your window supposed to be smashed? Is your front door supposed to be hanging open?" I like that. And so, yeah, I won't diss care in the community too much. Was it implemented particularly well by the Conservative government of the early 90s? Hell no. But it was still a sea change from what it used to be, where we would take people, women especially, and go, "You've done something to transgress the rules of, our society." There were men who were put in there for being gay. There were people who were put in there for being trans. And so, yeah, I think that the understanding, at least the public understanding of mental health problems and different sexualities and, I don't know, having a baby out of fucking wedlock, who cares? Has moved on a lot. We're still not there. Jovian, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. It's a great idea, but will they invest in sufficiently trained staff? Well, I hope so. But also, if you're taking some of the A&E stuff away, I'm not talking about the emergency, I'm not talking about the blue light stuff, but the walking wounded, they're taking a few of them, a few people away from the main hospital in any given area. I think that's a good thing. Why do you have to go to like a massive fucking hospital if you've hurt your foot and you need an x-ray? It just seems mad to me. Just go to the healthcare centre down the road, get an x-ray, okay, yeah, you've broken your foot. Here's some crutches, piss off. I met people who were institutionalised at my mum's old work. It was really sad. They've been locked away from the world. Yeah. But the fucking Queen? The Queen's cousins were locked away, just put in some institute for years. My gran got off with a GI in World War II and had my mum. She gave her to her sister so she avoided the funny farm visit. We only found out the truth about a month after her death. That's Captain. That's so tragic and so shit, and shit that you didn't find out until a month after her death. And wow, we had a home in my village, Keefton Park, full of those girls. Some of them very old ladies. They dressed them all the same, and they're all super medicated and institutionalized. Yeah. I worked in one of those places, 1988 to 9. Yes, it's true. Unwed mothers were locked up. That's Jeannie Bottle. I mean, the cruelty, the absolute sadistic cruelty. And I don't know if my mum's watching this. Hi, Mum, if she is. But my grandmother, Sarah, she had 2 kids out of wedlock before she met my grandfather. And they had her maiden name. Like, they still do, and their kids do. That to me is sort of a bit emblematic of the fact that Liverpool had working class Liverpool people in the 1930s had they looked after each other, they looked after their own. And what we found a lot of the time with people who were locked away, it was generally wealthier people, not necessarily all the time, but it was, they didn't want to bring shame on the family name. Whereas in working class areas, I think people gave less of a fuck about that kind of shit. But you found that a lot of sort of middle class and upper class, particularly, people ended up being put in these institutions just to get rid of them, just because they were problematic in some way to the name of the landed house or whatever it was. Really, really grim part of British history. Like during COVID, when homeless people were taken off the streets and housed, neighbours checked in on elderly. There was kindness till Barnard Castle and Partygate. The Tories destroyed any goodwill. That's absolutely right, Leonora. My mum was born out of wedlock in 41. Her mum was forced to give her up for adoption. Thankfully, my grandparents were amazing. She found her birth mother after her granddad died. Yeah. I mean, the way society was in the past, it's why when people go, oh, if you had a time machine, what time in the past would you go to? And I'd be like, I wouldn't use it. Can go in the future to the point where after the big beautiful day has happened. Can I go there? I'd like to go there. Skip 5 years into the future. Yeah, I'm happy to go there. I'm not going in the past. I am not going to the past. I'm not going to anywhere in the past, because no matter how rosy your memories are of a particular era, or how much your historical interest is piqued by the idea of actually being at the Battle of Agincourt, I think the reality of being back in those days would be pretty horrific. The 90s were great for music, I won't doubt that, but at the same time, the Tories were in charge for 8 years of the 90s. Labour only got in 1997. So of the years of the 90s, Labour were only in power for the last 2 of them. And then, the fact that there was so little investment, especially up in the north. But then you got the fact that in the 90s, the IRA was still going. We had the bombing in Manchester, at the Arndale Centre. We had the Warrington bombing. And we also had, until I think it was 1994, that marital rape was made illegal. Like, the death penalty was still on the books until 1999, when Jack Straw finally got rid of it for arson in the Royal Dockyard and treason. They were the 2 things that you could still be put to death for legally in the UK. He changed the rules and got rid of them. You can't be put to death for anything in the UK now. So even going, oh, it'd be nice to go back to the 90s. Yeah. Then the noughties. I mean, the noughties were incredible. But it was just a really cool, fun fucking decade. for a lot of us who, into music and into, what was going on. Liverpool got a lot better in those years. There's a lot of money coming in from Europe. Thank you very much to the EU for the Objective One funding for the £1.9 billion that was given to my city to make a new city centre. Still, the people of Notty Ash voted to leave the EU for some reason. They're fucking dickheads. Anyway, not everyone in Notty Ash voted, just over 50%. It was one of the few little wards in Liverpool where over 50% of the population voted to leave. But yeah, at the same time, we had 9/11. We had the bloody Gulf War, not the Gulf War, sorry, the Iraq War, the Afghan conflict. We had 7/7 here in the UK. We had the Madrid bombing in Spain. We did, lots of horrible shit happened in that decade, and we had the opportunity to start doing stuff about climate change, catastrophic climate change, and we didn't do it. We just didn't do it. We decided not to do that thing. Yeah, Obama got elected, but yeah, and then don't get me started on the tens, Brexit, Trump, whatever, and then 2020 started with COVID, and it started as it means to go on. So there's no point in the past that I want to go to. There just isn't. I've got no interest. Even as middle-class, middle-aged white guy who speaks English, I would not like to go back to any of those periods. If I was trans, if I was a woman, if I was black, if I was like any kind of minority, no, just no, just absolutely not. I remember the Manchester bomb and the Arndale Centre, says Nick and Diff. Yeah. My uncle in the 70s was treated for schizophrenia with LSD in our local mental health hospital. It didn't do him a lot of favours. It works for some people, doesn't work for others. My mum was sexually assaulted in her teens, says Elle, and became pregnant with my brother. Oh my God, Elle, that's awful. Forced into marriage with the guy. Nice one, Dad. Jesus Christ. That's awful. I'm so sorry, Elle. Jeannie said they would remove the teeth of patients to stop biting each other. Staff offence to escape. Fucking hell. We rise in the shoulders of those who have fought before, says Leanne Scott. We absolutely do. And it never stops. The fight never ends. The fight for equality, fairness, justice never ends. Ivan says, a few years ago, I had to be admitted to hospital for my mental health. I wasn't sections, but I decided I needed to go under strong recommendation of my medical professionals. And it's good that those places are available. But also, Ivan, going back to what it was like in the early 90s, and if you went into one of those hospitals, like it was a walk-in, you would be sharing that space with people who shouldn't fucking be there, who have gone through hell their life. They haven't been allowed to leave for the crime of being gay or the crime of having a child out of wedlock or whatever the stupid fucking thing was, and they've been medicated. They may have gone through electroshock treatment. They may have, whatever sanity they had was taken. Well, they were sane up to the point where they were put into this mental health hospital, which drove them insane. That is what happened in these places, and that's not a very congenial place for bettering people's mental health. Like, mental health hospitals are a lot better now than they were. Close enough to hear 2 bombs in Liverpool, says Gary, on the way to Arndale. Wife's Mank and studio was only 10 shops down from the Warrington bomb, so glad it stopped. I thought they were out to get me. Yeah. Well, there was a lot of, when they bombed Manchester and then the Warrington bombing, was like, why are you bombing like these areas in the northwest where there's a lot of people who have got sympathy with maybe not the IRA, but at least Sinn Féin, at least the idea of Irish reunification. Like, half the population of Liverpool has got Irish heritage, got Irish blood. I have, and yeah, that always sort of, yeah, I think that was the point where a lot of people were just like, okay, we can't be doing this anymore. This is fucking ridiculous. We need to come to some sort of resolution. There was also the fact that the British Army had done an absolute number on the IRA in the 90s. This isn't really much talked about, but the IRA had been seriously crippled by the actions of the British Army, sometimes heavy-handed actions of the British Army. It was a really, really grim time for the people of Belfast and the people of Northern Ireland in general. I might it would be good to get someone on the show at some point to talk about what it was like growing up during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. And maybe we'll do that at some point, because I think it'd be really good to sort of like what it was like to be stuck in the middle of this insane time when you had the Unionists who were fucking batshit insane. You had the Republicans who had historic grievances, and just the way that people turn on each other over the daftest of fucking things. The big difference between Protestantism and Catholicism is transubstantiation. One group believes that when you take communion and you drink the holy wine, it actually turns into the blood of Jesus Christ in your mouth. The others don't. It's worth fighting for 500 years over, isn't it? We as a society seem to be going backwards when it comes to mental health, says Chris C. Instead of being compassionate to those struggling day to day, society views them as lazy and attention seeking. Chris, I think that you're right to an extent about the way that society looks at mental health, but at the same time, I think there's more understanding now than there ever was. And of course, you're going to have the tub thumping knobheads in the Daily Mail going, "Oh, lazy fucking people can't be all going to work." You'll always have that, but I think just generally the understanding of mental health has come on in leaps and bounds in the general public. The internet's got a lot to do with that, knowing that it's quite common. It's very common. And also, I think that there has been a huge destigmatization of a lot of mental health problems. And I know what you're saying about the dickheads who go, "Oh, fucking lazy people," right? But I think it's really important that, and I was going to mention this when I do the paper review, I think it's really important that when people with a public platform admit that they have a particular issue, I think it really, really helps with the rest of us, because we go, okay, first of all, there's a destigmatization of it. And secondly, it's the, oh, okay, I need to look out for that, because if I look out for that, then it might turn out that I've got this, whatever. How many pager attacks are okay? None. Zero, says Earl. Earl's question, zero. Absolutely zero. That was an abhorrent war crime that was committed by the IDF or by Mossad. Audacious, but fucking hell. Making people's pages blow up with children around and innocent bystanders, and the targeted assassinations of all these people. It doesn't bear thinking about. Pete says, Jay, my uncle was doing finals at uni, had a meltdown, and decided to work with him. Barbaric, my sympathies. My uncle ended up trying to kill my auntie, as he's died since. Bloody hell. To top it off, my stepdad was also violent. I'm sorry, Al. He began hitting me around 12. He was also a heavyweight boxer. Jesus Christ, Al. I'm so sorry that all this shit. This is really shit. I'm glad you found a community here of people who are sympathetic and not people who are like dismissive of what you've been through. And I'm sorry. I'm just really sorry that happened to you. It's fucking shit. It is absolutely shit. And you should never feel like you have to pretend that it wasn't shit. And you should never feel like it was in any way your fault. And a lot of us do when when we've got things in our lives that we've had to deal with. We tend to blame ourselves, and there's in those circumstances, there's no blame at all for you. There's horrible people doing horrible things, and society letting them get away with it, as society too often does. I'm sorry. Just reading some of the other messages here. Leanne says mental health treatment has been shocks, drugs, LSD, antidepressants, group rehab, and recycle. I mean, different things work for different people. It just depends on your individual makeup of your brain, of your physiology. And one thing that works marvelously for one person might not work for another. One thing that treats one particular mental health issue, it will never be a panacea. It's not going to fix all of them. But Chris C says, yes, there's better understanding of mental health. However, the likes of GB News, the Daily Mail, and the rest are constantly banging the toxic rhetoric that people are faking it. Yeah, Chris. And this is when I start getting really fucking upset, because it is the biggest societal problem that I see at the moment in how we treat each other as human beings is the Little Britain mentality. They might be faking it. Whether it's being trans, being gay, being disabled, having mental health problems, not being able to work for whatever reason. Maybe they're faking it. And this goes as far as people who are SA'd. Maybe they're faking it. Maybe they're just making it up for the attention. And that is the knee-jerk reaction of every 10-ton cunt in this country. And it fucks me off so much. When someone tells you that they have a problem, fucking believe them, okay? Because the chances are that they're lying is like 1 in 100. And you will do so much damage if you are dealing with the 99 out of 100 genuine cases if you dismiss what that person is saying to you. Because there's a little toxic fucking lizard brain shit in your head going, maybe they're just making it up for attention. Maybe they're just saying it so they could get onto the fast queue. You know, when we're in the disabled section of something, wherever we are, and we're told, oh no, sorry, you're not in a wheelchair. You can't be in this. You're not disabled. And Catherine's like, I'm profoundly deaf. I cannot hear the tannoy. If an alarm goes off, I cannot hear the alarm. Okay? If a bomb goes off, I will not hear the fucking bomb. Okay? I will not know where to go or what to do. I need someone else with me. Maybe they're just faking it. Maybe if you're not deaf, you won't realize that how dangerous it is to stay in a hotel. So I'll ask you, you're in a hotel. There's a fire in the hotel. The fire alarm goes off. You can't hear it. You are deaf. What do you do? So can you ask someone at the front desk to come up and get you? Knock on your door? You can't hear the knock. Can you? You're deaf. Okay, so I have to give them a key. So someone from the hotel, a male in the hotel, and you're a female staying there on your own, has a key to walk into your room, and you cannot lock it from the inside in case there's a fucking fire. Did you think of that? No, because you're not fucking disabled. But this is the kind of shit that Catherine has to put up with every time she goes to a fucking hotel. They're supposed to provide a vibrating pad that goes under your pillow so that if the alarm goes off, the vibrations wake you up. That's what you're supposed to have at all hotels in this country. And so what do? Friends, they do the minimum amount they can get away with. They have one. Sometimes they don't have any, but like one. So if you have more than one deaf person staying in your hotel, they're fucked, aren't they? But maybe they're faking it. You know, maybe we don't have to do anything to, put reasonable adjustments in place to help people who are disabled. Maybe we just don't need to. Maybe they're faking it. Honestly, I think that is the most toxic mindset that we have in this country. And I know it's not all Little Britain's fault, but oh my God, Little Britain can get to fuck so badly for perpetuating this idea that actually disabled people are just pretending. People in wheelchairs are just pretending. They can get up. They're just milking it, because they can't be arsed. Two posh, privately educated motherfuckers taking the piss out of working class people. Yeah, but no, but the fucking Slimmer's World thing. Two very, very, very posh people punching down like motherfuckers. Fucking hate it. Didn't find it funny in the first place. Thought it was a shit rip-off of League of Gentlemen. Anyway, sorry, I've just got off my high horse now, Sean. I'll get off that thing. Chris C. Also, I've seen many comments on local news websites on stories of ADHD children being denied SEND education, where the commentators say ADHD is a naughty behaviour that needs to be beaten out. The thing is, people with ADHD, when given the correct tools, will absolutely fucking excel like you would not believe. And yeah, it's a bit of a shit trope that, oh, look at me, I'm daredevil, I'm blind, but I have amazing hearing, I can fight people with echolocation or something. That doesn't really happen in real life. But when you can absolutely hyper focus on a task and make it work, ADHD can be, I wouldn't go as far as calling it a superpower, but it can be a benefit. It can be a huge benefit, not just to the individual, but to your school. If you want to get good grades for your school, for the Ofsted reports, if your business, if you want people who work really fucking hard and get the shit done. I got a job once, like doing a week's work, doing this data migration for a company in Manchester. It was a food company, and I finished it. I found like a shortcut to do it because they wanted me to like copy and paste stuff like this. I found a shortcut to do it, and I was being paid for 5 days. I had it all finished by fucking 12 o'clock on the first day. I was like, what do we do now? He said that the person who was dealing with it just said, just make it look like he's working. So I just moved stuff around an Excel spreadsheet. I think it was moving data from Lotus 123 to Excel. Did anyone else have to do that? Lotus 123 fell apart because of the Millennium Bug, but not the Millennium Bug you're thinking of. It was because when they set up the date system, they made 1900 a leap year when it's not. We only have one leap year in every 400 years at the turn of a century. So at the turn of the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, there was not a there was not a leap year. It was only 2000 was a leap year. And back in the day, this wasn't something that you could just update centrally through an update like what Adobe do every 2 seconds. Adobe One Kenobi, update the Force, Luke. This was software that was on computers all over the world, and it's what destroyed Lotus 123, which was actually a bit of a better program than Excel. Sorry, tangent, side quest alert. I missed most of the chat as I was hanging up laundry and making coffee, but sounded like a top class rant. Agree about Little Britain, unwatchable in my opinion. Fucking shite. Little Britain was no Young Ones or Red Dwarf. Yeah, because it punched down. That's why I fucking hated it. I mean, I didn't find it particularly funny, but it punched down in a way that I don't think other comedy shows did. It was a mashup, really, wasn't it, of the Fast Show, because it was catchphrase-based comedy, and the sort of the grotesques of the League of Gentlemen. I don't know. My brain can't figure. Leave it to you, Graham. My brain can't figure this out. What? On the plus side, I'm 5'5" and an easy target. No, many have tried. With my hypervigilance, I've dodged so many punches and learned to protect myself. Can take the hit. 30 plus 6 foot people have started and lost. Oh, that's good to know. Well, my amazing ADHD daughter has expanded the company she works into Australia and Singapore in 2 years, exceeding the CEO's expectations massively. So proud. Maybe it's a bit of a superpower. I just don't want to big it up for myself. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that I would have been able to do my journey to every country in the world without flying if I wasn't ADHD. I think it just kept me going. I think it's just like the drive, the hyper focus. Little Britain was awful. Little Britain was terrible. Yeah, I agree. I agree so much. Ivan says, my autism does have its useful parts, but the horrible parts, unfortunately, far outweigh everything. I'm sorry, Ivan. I know it is difficult. And my ADHD has put obstacles in my way of what I want to do and created a lot of situations of self-sabotage. As I've got older, it's got worse. It wasn't so bad when I was younger, but I really just, I find it difficult. And I'm particularly worried about ADHD burnout. I do think there's going to be a point where, I just can't do this at the level that I'm currently doing it. But my attitude is do it while I can do it. Do what you can while you can. So anyway, should we get back to what we're supposed to be talking about on this show? I just started talking about the NHS and about the shift curve from overwhelmed hospitals into the community. There's a £52 billion budget boost, but there's no clear timeline on this or staffing plan or construction budget, so I don't really know the details of that just yet. Think tanks are saying this has been promised before, but the actual challenge is delivering it. Health workers have been asking where are the staff, where are the buildings, where's the money really coming from? And if you can be cynical about this, you can say that Starmer's using the NHS reform to distract from the welfare carnage and the market panic of yesterday afternoon. Anyway, so what comes next? As Reeves has survived for now, but pressure will continue to build over the summer, and I think that the crunch point is going to be the autumn budget. Labour still hasn't explained how it will fill the budget black hole. The 2-child cap becomes a new pressure for Labour's left flank now. It's a new task. I want them to take up the issue with the Supreme Court ruling on trans rights, effectively erasing trans people from existence for some fucking stupid, bigoted reason in a judgment that was brought by no habeas corpus in that case, because they did not have any trans people being consulted or asked or anything. We can expect sort of scrutiny over tax rises and angry headlines from the left and the right. And the PM's refusal to write a future budget won't, I think that's gonna wash for much longer, to be honest with you. And another Commons defeat could shred Starmer's already fraying authority and Reeves' credibility in front of the OBR and the IFS and the IMF are now under question, and the market volatility could escalate if Labour's left looking chaotic and inconsistent again in the future. So I think that the emotional toll this takes on the MPs involved, some of whom are my friends, is clear. It's a shit job. A really, really high pressure shit job. But Starmer, in his defence, he has tied himself to Reeves's fate. If she goes, he does as well. It's usually quite common when you have the Chancellor Prime Minister combo. And the problem isn't just policy; it's also perception. Like, who is actually in control of the Labour Party at the moment? And the public will forgive U-turns, especially when the U-turns are made on something that needed to be made. I know that we get a lot of sort of political mileage about going, oh, U-turn, they made the U-turn. But the reality is things settle down after a while. I don't think people are going to be talking about the winter fuel allowance this winter like they were last winter. But Labour's first year ends in chaos. And I think that Labour need to have a word at themselves, and they need to reboot. They need to reboot what they're doing and their agenda. They need to be able to talk to the media and use social media in a way that gets their message across to the people. And also they need to think about how they're going to achieve the stuff they need to achieve without alienating key parts of their support from their own party. We got a super chat come in. Thank you very much to Paula Thomas. Thank you very much for the £5. You mean the Supreme Court decision that was described as biological nonsense and scientifically illiterate by the BMA? Yes, Paula. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Absolutely disgraceful decision. And that disgusting picture of that fucking horrible little bog troll, J.K. Rowling in money. And she's sitting there on a fucking... on a luxury fucking super yacht with a cigar, laughing, cackling that she's, destroyed the rights of a already vulnerable part of our society. Absolutely disgraceful. The good thing that has come from this, though, is that the fight back is real, and there are more people than ever before who are making their voices known and making their voices heard. I did an episode of Pubcast back in 2020 when I interviewed two friends of mine in America. One was non-binary, and they're now transmasc. But at the time, they were not non-binary and trans woman. And one of the questions I had for them is like, what can I do? Should I get involved in this? And both of them were like, fuck yeah, get involved. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, no, really, because we're such a minority in society. Unless we have allies standing up for our rights are going to be taken away. And we've seen it. It's happened. And when there are people on the left, and there are very, very strong transphobic voices in Labour, and when people on the left think that the moral decision, because transphobia has been conflated with feminism in this disgusting way, transphobia is not feminism. Transphobia is the absolute diametric opposite of feminism. Feminism calls for equality. That's it. Equality, not exclusion. If you are exclusive, if you are regressive, you're a misogynist. That's not feminism. It's the diametric opposite of feminism is being transphobic. And we need to get this through to people who, they would be horrified if they said something racist or sexist, what they see as sexist on the telly. They'd be like, apologetic. They'd be falling over themselves to be apologetic if they said something anti-Semitic or something Islamophobic. Quite rightly, they'd be falling over themselves to apologize. But they can just say something transphobic, and there's no consequence. There's no consequence at the moment. They just get away with it, and that's got to stop. So the good thing that I see, slightly on the outside of this, but it's that I'm seeing more and more allies stand up and say this is wrong. I'm seeing it more on my social media feeds. I'm seeing it more on TV. I'm seeing it more in life in general. More and more people are saying it's disgusting the way that trans people are treated in this country. That's all. That's the message. That's the headline. The way trans people are treated in this country is disgraceful. And we need to get as many people as we can on board with that concept. A court that can consider ruling on a case without hearing from both sides isn't fit for purpose, especially life-changing rulings. Yeah, they didn't follow the rule of habeas corpus. Well, this is all part of the plan, because this is actually nothing to do with trans people. I mean, it is, because it affects trans people, like the ruling, but this isn't the master plan. The trans community have just been used. They're just cannon fodder for what the real plan is, which is to get us out of the European Court of Human Rights, or the Convention of Human Rights, and that includes the court. That's the plan. And trans people are Trojan horse. This ruling by the Supreme Court has been put together by the billionaires, by the time and billionaires, the Heritage Foundation, the Federalist Society in America coming over here, giving all this money to the 55 Tufton Street think tanks, stink tanks, who have so much money, it's ridiculous, but they need more money. And they want us out of the European Court of Human Rights. Why? Because once we're out of that, we can take away workers' rights, we can take away individual rights for people, for the plebs, for us, the staties who went to a state school. And also you can drive down wages. Our friend Zoe Gardner makes a really good point about this, where she says, look, if you have people coming over here on a visa, and if they lose their job, they lose their visa, that's an issue for work, isn't it? Because you're not going to leave your job, no matter how shit it is, no matter how fuck all they pay you. And it distorts the labour market, the job market for everyone, not just for the people coming here on a visa, but for the people living here who can't live on that kind of, shit salary. And, it'd be above minimum wage, but it'll still be a shit salary. So they can't compete. And the people who come over here on a visa, on a work visa, can't, it's almost like we're going back to the days of indentured servitude, indentured work, where you're putting loads of debt by coming over here in the first place, and you've got to pay off that debt, and you can't leave the job that you're in. And that drives down wages. That's driving down wages more than people from other countries coming here to work in the first place. So yeah, they want us out of the European Court of Human Rights so that the big tech companies, the big bastard fossil fuel filth companies, the toxic smoke belching bastards from the fucking dirty oil brigade can make even more profits. That's it. That it's nothing to do with freedom, nothing to do with, they want to curtail our freedom. They've already taken our freedom of movement, and they want to take much more. They want to take our collective bargaining rights. They want to take away our unions. They just want it all destroyed in the name of bigger fucking super yachts for these fucking clanging motherfucking dead set copper bottomed cunts. I don't care that I've demonetized this show because it's been going on a long time anyway. So 2-hour show this morning. It's pretty good, isn't it? Anyway, so there you go. Labour's first year ends in fucking chaos. Stupid bastards. Let's kick the ball in the fucking goal, you dickheads. Right. Diddy guilty? Well, he's not. He's only been found guilty of the lesser charges. The racketeering charge that could have had a life sentence, he's avoided for some reason. Probably because he's really rich. We've got this. We've got the Mirror here saying, there's banter and there's bullying the Tory leader across the line. I don't necessarily agree that it was. I don't put the blame on Kemi Badenoch. I think she's terrible at PMQs. She doesn't do herself or her party any justice. But long may that continue. But I don't think that was. I disagree. Respectfully to Roswyn Jones. I don't want to start a Twitter flame war with Ros there, but I think it was more to do with whatever's going on behind the scenes. And then we've got this, we've got the woman from the family, Kate, my roller coaster recovery, brave royal on tough times. The Princess of Wales has revealed her cancer recovery has been far from smooth as she puts on a brave face to hide her struggles. Right. First of all, I've got absolute 100% sympathy with Kate. With any cancer patient, people suffering with cancer, people going through all this. Obviously, we know and love Mike on this channel, who is not just being treated for bum cancer, which is what he's got. He's also got leukemia. That's his manageable cancer that he's had for many years. And the fact that Mike takes us on that journey and tells us what's going on and what to look out for and all that kind of stuff is really, really good. He uses his platform, which is a lot smaller than the Princess of Wales platform, to destigmatize and inform. Even if Kate wanted to tell us what particular cancer that she has, royal protocol basically bans it. Like, she's not allowed to, right? because of royal protocol. Royal protocol says they are not allowed to talk about illness. This dates back, I presume, hundreds of years back to the days where the king was anointed by God, and therefore the king never suffered any public ailments. They just, one day they died, and that was it. So we never found out what was wrong with them because they have to have this aura of invincibility. Now, we know that Kate and King Charles both have cancer. And we know they were both being treated for cancer. But we don't know what cancer it is. And I'm sure there are some of you watching this who firmly believe in privacy and that it's up to them whether they tell people what cancer it is, right? I think that, yes, I understand that. But my problem is that even if they wanted to tell what type of cancer they've got, royal protocol stops that from happening. And I think that's a really fucking stupid royal protocol when they could do so much good in destigmatizing whatever particular cancer that they've got. Presumably it's an embarrassing type of cancer. The more people know about it, the more people talk about it, the more people see the symptoms and get it treated early. Like most cancers, if you get them early, completely treatable, completely, there's the ability to put them into remission, but you've got to get them early. So as a public service, as public figures, and it kind of annoys me that Kate is put on the front cover of all these newspapers for wearing a hat or for petting a dog, but we don't actually, the important stuff that could help with information for the rest of the country, us, the subjects of the royal family, we are apparently, they keep quiet, they keep stum because of royal protocol. And look, if it's her own decision, fair enough. I'm not going to knock that. Each their own. But the idea that she might want to say it's this particular type of cancer, this is what to look out for, whatever. She is stymied in her ability to talk about it because of royal protocol, and I think that's wrong. Your mileage may vary. I don't know if you'll all agree on this. Why Wimbledon is now the hottest ticket, probably because of the weather. What's the best Oasis song? How good it is to be an idiot by Neil Innes. More GPs, fewer consultants to bring health closer to home. Thousands more GPs and fewer hospital consultants will be trained in an effort to shift healthcare closer to where people live. The government will announce today. 200 new neighbourhood health centres will offer scans, outpatient appointments, mental health therapy, and a host of services without need to go to hospital, under the proposals to be outlined in the government's 10-year plan for the NHS. Yeah, I think that's good. And there's the image there of Rachel Reeves, the tears down her cheeks. Reeves battles doubters after PM spooks markets. Starmer fails to back Chancellor in Commons. Tears on front bench for a personal matter. Clean living Gen Z turn to drink as they grow up. Generation Z has long been known as Generation Abstinence, shunning alcohol in favour of more wholesome pursuits. However, the latest evidence has suggested they might not be as squeaky clean as their first thoughts. So, people getting into sex, drugs, and rock and roll at a later age, possibly because their childhood was just massively disrupted by COVID. I don't know. Day of drama leaves Reeves on the brink. So Keir Starmer is desperately scrambling to contain a growing crisis after Rachel Reeves cried at PMQs. And we've got Kate again there talking about her cancer treatment. Tears and turmoil as PM forced to defend Reeves after welfare fiasco. Combs partially guilty in sex trafficking case. Can't believe he got away with that. Fucking hate. That's two-tier justice for you. The billionaires just get away with murder. Cafe bomb may be IDF war crime, say experts. This is an Israeli bomb that was set off in the fucking seaside town in Gaza. And the crowded beachfront cafe. What was it? A cafe that was hiding fucking Hezbollah AK-47s or Hamas rocket launchers? Fuck off. God. I just hate the fact that people are more vexed over the fact that the guys at Glastonbury at the weekend, Bob Villan, said something daft over what the IDF are doing, the cruelty, the sadism, the war crimes they're committing at the behest of a wanted war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu, who's also a criminal in his own country, who's standing trial for being a criminal. Okay, next up we've got the newspaper. Reeves' future in doubt after tearful PMQs. Government bonds and pound fell sharply after Starmer declined to back his Chancellor in the House of Commons. That wasn't a good move. Not showering yourself in glory there, dickhead. Then we've got pound falls after Reeves' tears. Who or what caused the tears that sparked turmoil in the market? Rachel needed a hug. This is from the former wife of Michael Gove, Sarah Vile. She's saying, "Oh, she needed a hug." Was he supposed to give her a hug in Prime Minister's questions? Fuck off! What the heck? Instead, Starmer sucked her dry to try and shore up his own position, like the political vampire. Oh, fuck off. Tears and jeers for Starmer. Freak show rap star verdict. Here we go with the actual grown-up newspaper, the Financial Times. Can Canada become an energy superpower? Yes, but not through fucking shale oil. Thank you very much. Why the world needs more billionaires? Fuck off, Michael Strain. Guilt and pound slump after Reeves' tears trigger fears for fiscal vigilance. Weak backing from Starmer at PMQs, doubt over Chancellor's future. Both sides deny any row. Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? Anyway, back to me. Okay, so Graham, quick question. Is Starmer smart enough to use that question to spook the market to show how much trust she really has from the money? Maybe. I don't know. Blue Badger, I never really like it when sort of we presume stuff that, you know, could be explained by incompetence when we try and explain it as like they're playing 4D chess. I don't know. Leanne Scott, emotions are natural cycles and we must negotiate in life. Hard for a public personage. Yeah. I mean, I cried during Wolf Alice. Genuinely, just floods of tears during Wolf Alice. Watching a fucking gig at Glastonbury in the summer fucking sun. Yeah, sometimes your emotions take over. And what's particularly galling for the, you know, for me as a man, just the toxic masculinity and why it's so damaging and why toxic masculinity is so toxic is this idea that men aren't supposed to show emotions. There are so many people who are fucked up today. Men who are fucked up because they weren't allowed to show emotion. Except at the footy. Like, that's the weird thing, isn't it? Like, at the footy, you're allowed to cry if your team lose. If the footy, you're allowed to get emotional. But everything else, you got to be really stoic. You know, someone dies or, you know, you lose your job or whatever, you got to be stiff upper lip. I hate that expression. No, if you're sad, be sad. It's a human reaction to deal with this stuff. If you need a hug, fucking, you know, get a hug. Or someone who wants to hug you. Don't go around just hugging random strangers. They won't like that. If they want more billionaires, give everyone $1 million. They've been tackling a few things they really need doing, says Anne. Rail, water, energy, asylum claims, but failing on the social justice side. Yeah, I agree. Well, we're going to go through that tomorrow. Me and Phil Morehouse. We're going to talk about the shit that Labour's done over the last year. The good, the bad, and the ugly of Labour. 2024, 2025. So please join us for that. I'll be back in the morning with Morning Brew. I might do a show this evening. I haven't quite decided because my schedule's been mucked up slightly by illness in the family. So I will be... I normally do a 30-night show, but just look out for it. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We only need just about 100 and something new subscribers, and we will have 42,000 subscribers on the channel. So please subscribe, or if you've got a mate who you think might enjoy watching these streams in the morning, get them to subscribe as well, and click the bell notification icon, and you will get a little buzz in your pocket when I'm going to go live, or let you know when I'm going to go live. Stupid Tansy seems pissed at Starmer over this Reeves business. going off the title of a new video. Yeah. No worries, Graham. I don't think he's a chess master. I just know that if he implies she won't be in it for long, then the market would act like she's off the cabinet. Yeah, indeed. I cry when the films have animals in them and not ending up well. Yeah, don't watch Old Yeller, for Christ's sake. Bye, everyone. Graham, I hope whoever is ill feels better soon. Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Right. I'm off. Hopefully, I'll see you this evening, but if not, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, bright and early for Morning Brew. And I hope you've enjoyed our special bumper show this morning. Thank you very much for everyone who's watched, everyone who's dropped a message, everyone who has dropped a super chat. Really, really appreciate it. Give us a like. Give us a like on the way out. I always forget to say this. Likes are free and they're wonderful. So please give us a like. And until next time, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.